It will take a year to get the American troops out. Do you hear me now? That's the truth. It will take a year to get them physically out. Now, if you leave all the equipment behind, you might be able to do it in 7 months. And you leave those billions of dollars of weapons behind, I promise they're going to be used against your grandchild and mine someday.
Biden predicted this disaster of a withdrawal in 2008. Why isn't this getting more attention?
Well, first things first, how creepy is that clip? I mean, what grown man leans in like that to somebody in an audience? That's just creepy. That is quintessence of Creepy Joe. On top of that, do we even think he remembers saying those words? He's right, but he probably forgot actually saying them. But the reason that we have this disaster in Afghanistan is because we have a politicized military. We have, General Milley, who's more interested in studying white rage and he's understanding the Taliban. We've got a Biden who says, we don't need Bagram. We don't need the only strategic airfield in the whole region. Shut it down. We have a dangerous cocktail, Alison. This administration is a combination. It is an admixture of arrogance and ignorance. And whether it's the open border, whether it's the price of gas, whether it's inflation, whether it's Omicron out of control, or whether it is surrendering to the Taliban, that is what you get when you have Democrats who know nothing and are arrogant and think that they actually know something.
Yeah, Sebastian, that clip, it's not really getting a lot of attention, but you have to go back and say, gosh, if this was President Trump or any Republican right now who, said that and did that, can you imagine the mainstream media, how they would be playing that over and over again and talking about it? It would dominate the headlines.
24/7. You open a faucet and you'd have Jake Tapper coming out of your tap telling you about that soundbite. I mean, absolutely. Look, the fact is the media, the mainstream media, are just legacy lying propagandists. That's all they are. That's why things such as Newsmax are exploding. But the bottom line is a very simple one. They are hostage to their ideology. The people who say they care for the small guy, the people who say they care for the working class are simply a bunch of elitists. They care for their buddies, whether it's big tech, whether it's big pharma. And I guarantee you one thing. As a man who worked for President Trump, when he was Mr. Trump, when he was President Trump in the Oval, I guarantee you one thing. What happened in Afghanistan earlier this year that led to the needless deaths of 13 servicemen and women would never have happened if President Trump were still in the White House.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people agree with you. And there's still, our allies are still trapped there. We still have Americans there. I spoke to General Halt earlier today on Wake Up America, and he talked about what he's hearing on the ground. The left media is not reporting that at all. They're not talking about that. Story has pretty much gone away for them. Speaking of the left media, Sebastian, I wanted to get your reaction to Biden's Christmas Eve phone call. It's the Let's Go Brandon joke that engaged the left. Take a listen.
I hope you have a wonderful Christmas.
Well, yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well. Merry Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
All right. Well, the man who made that comment was later identified as Jared Schmeck. He's a dad of 4 and former police officer from Oregon. He says he was just joking, but many in the mainstream media, they pretty much freaked out, right? They say the phrase is a vulgar insult and right-wing slur. Sebastian, I think that former President Trump has been called worse things on TV and on social media, yet they didn't care about that.
I mean, we had 4 years of the most despicable behavior by the quote-unquote elite, the media, the Hollywood actors, Robert De Niro, from a podium swearing, using the F word against Donald Trump. We had quote-unquote comedians using the most disgusting language about his daughter on their quote-unquote comedy shows. And then we've got even members of Congress, Democrats, in front of their children. I mean, this is the most perverse of all. The day they're getting sworn in front of her little son, Rashida Tlaib saying, and I'll edit it for your viewers, let's impeach the MFer. And now we're supposed to be shocked at a joke where you say, let's go, Brandon. Yeah, as my good friend Chris Plant says, who has the morning radio show in D.C., if it weren't for double standards, the left wouldn't have any standards at all. But again, it goes back to your first point. What does that video show you? It shows you this man's senile. I mean, he doesn't know what let's go Brandon means, and he just sits there and says, yeah, I agree with you. Let's go Brandon. I mean, just 10 days ago, his wife on a Puff Piece TV interview laughed when she was asked to react to the people who are questioning her husband's cognitive capacity. Well, you're sitting right there, Jill, and he said, yeah, I agree with let's go Brandon. That's all the proof anyone needs. This guy is out to lunch.
And Sebastian, I think that's the bigger story, right? It's not about this. It's about him not knowing what that meant. I mean, he has a team. This has been going on for months and months and months. And if you watch that clip a little longer, you saw Jill Biden's head kind of go down, thinking, oh, gosh, did he just say that? So you know that she knows what it is. Yeah, and I think that's the bigger story. Why doesn't he know what that is, what that means?
Well, it goes to what I just heard last week. So a good friend of one of my producers who's in the Secret Service, who has the detail when, he's in Delaware, says that he sees Joe Biden for hours at a time, 2 or 3 hours, sitting, staring out a window. What? This is the most powerful man in the world. I worked in the White House. Within 20 feet of the president, whoever he is a military aide with a large, large briefcase called the football. That gives him the power to launch nuclear weapons as the commander-in-chief. And this guy doesn't know what let's go Brandon means. And then when he's home, stares out the window for hours on end. It's like a bad, bad movie, but it's scary because this man, sadly, is the president.
Right. No, you're right. It's very scary. Absolutely. Well, Sebastian Gorka, thank you so much for your time today. We hope you have a great New Year's, and you make sure we check you out on the weekends. Absolutely. The Gorka reality check on this weekend. I appreciate it.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them. Tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.